Hello and welcome to Real Chat. I'm Sophie.
And I'm Mark.
Made for just $10 million, Backrooms has become one of the surprise hits of 2026, earning well over 10 times its budget at the box office. Incredibly, Kane Parsons, the director, has now become the youngest filmmaker to reach #1 at the American box office. But can a low-budget film made by a 20-year-old YouTuber really be that good? Our reviews and scores coming up now. Backrooms follows Clark, a struggling furniture store owner and failed architect whose life is slowly falling apart. When a strange doorway appears in the basement of his furniture store, he discovers an endless maze of empty rooms, corridors, and spaces that seem to stretch on forever. As Clark becomes increasingly obsessed with this mysterious place, his therapist, Dr. Mary Klein, is drawn to help him uncover what might lurk within this strange world. What started off as a personal crisis for Clark soon develops into a surreal nightmare that blurs the boundaries between reality, memory, and identity. So, what did you make of this film?
Well, I saw it today and I was glad to get out of that cinema. And for a horror film, I mean that in a good way. Because, yeah, it did give me the creeps. Mm-hmm. I saw the trailer. I thought it was intrigued. Mm-hmm. Unlike you, I think you know a bit of the backstory of this. So I went in cold. I didn't quite know what to expect. Mm-hmm. Horror is not my favourite genre, but I was surprised with this film. How about you?
This was probably my most anticipated film of the year. As soon as I heard about this being released, I was really excited, and I felt like it really lived up to that excitement. Like, watching that film, it was so much better than I expected it would be. I already had pretty good expectations for the film anyway. I was just obsessed with it. I thought it was incredible, like the whole construction of it.
You say it was the most anticipated film for you. Mm-hmm. I presume, I didn't know anything. I don't know what creepypasta is. I don't know what the Backrooms myth legend is. So maybe you could just
I'll try and give like a really short summary of it.
Okay.
But essentially, this image was posted online of this, one of those spaces that looks quite familiar yet unfamiliar. It was like uncanniness, but with architecture, and people were spreading it around, and it then became this huge lore building for this supposed Backrooms. And, there was like wiki pages dedicated to it. Everyone just kept like adding new ideas, new rooms or entities or whatever. But I wasn't really into that aspect of the Backrooms until probably 2022, when Kane Parsons was uploading to YouTube his found footage shorts of the Backrooms, and that's most of what I know of the Backrooms, just for me.
And he's really young, So what, 2022? Crikey, he must have been about 15 or 16,
16
when he started. This is the thing that has interested me about the film. I didn't realise until afterwards. Practically a teenager had directed this movie, and it's been a massive box office success.
With Kane Parsons, he kind of created his own version of it, and it was his version of the Backrooms that he presented in this film. So, people who have been following this for the longest time probably weren't quite happy with it or satisfied. But I think, you shouldn't judge a film solely based off of your own preferences of what you wanted the film to be, to some extent, I guess.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's like when a well-loved book, I suppose, is adapted, there's always going to be haters, and it's very difficult. As I say, I went in cold, and I just thought it was a really remarkable film. Not long ago, when we watched Rosa Nevada, I said that Rosa Nevada was probably going to be the most unusual film of 2026. And this damn well came close to knocking that off its #1 spot. I've never felt such a build-up of anxiety and creepiness from these, I suppose they call them liminal spaces, these empty rooms, these offices. And I thought the film was really well structured. So it started off with Clark, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and he discovers these back rooms and starts exploring them. Then he goes back to his therapist, and she doesn't quite believe him. It's a horror trope, of course. And he says, I'm going to get evidence and so on. And then when he goes back, he's got video camera footage. And I just thought that mixture of third person footage and then first person found footage, I thought as a device was really immersive.
Yeah.
And was done very, very skillfully. What did you think of the production design, the actual rooms?
Oh, I thought it was just astonishingly good. It really captured what the film was going for, you know, the kind of uncanniness of the rooms, but also it was a really good exploration of the human psyche as well. That was like a huge theme of the film, and I feel like the Backrooms as a character in itself was such an interesting exploration of that, I believe.
Yeah, I liked it because I'm not a huge horror fan, and I was honestly, I was going in with zero expectations, and I thought that the rooms would be quite interesting, and then we get a load of schlock horror, jump scares, and I'd be sick of it, and I'd think, oh yeah, what was all that about? But it wasn't like that. It drew me in, and the spaces got more and more surreal and more interesting in a way.
Definitely.
And it became sort of psychological sci-fi mystery element that was really drawing me in, I've got to say. Reminded me of old classic sci-fi like Tarkovsky's Stalker with The Zone, and of course Solaris, bit of 2001. I found the creepiness and the unsettling element of this film was very controlled, and it got more and more as it went through. And that final section was incredible, I thought.
When you just spoke about what it reminded you of, I've definitely seen a lot of people online kind of relating it back to David Lynch a little bit. And I'm definitely quite a David Lynch fan, and I definitely saw those aspects of the film. If you've seen Twin Peaks, you know about the Black Lodge in that kind of room, and it has quite a similar feel to the Backrooms. It's sort of never ending, and you kind of ended up in the same place, and it is quite similar to the kinds of things that David Lynch explores when we talk about the human psyche and the unconscious mind and those darker aspects of it that we're afraid to confront. That's definitely a huge theme in David Lynch films, definitely appeared itself in Backrooms as well.
So let's talk about the characters. I know the Backrooms itself is a huge presence. Do you think that overshadowed our two leads, Clark and Mary, when they go into the Backrooms? Do we know enough about these characters, do you think?
I really don't think it overshadows them. In fact, I think it works with their character development. With Clark in the Backrooms, he kind of isn't as willing to confront poorer aspects of himself or its flaws. He accepts them. Whereas with Mary, when it comes to the Backrooms, she's more willing to escape that part of her mind and the things that she suffers from. And I do think that they are both very interesting characters, and the film definitely explores that in a really effective way. And I think just because the Backrooms is a character in itself, I don't think it overshadows any of the other characters' development or the things we learn about them.
Yeah, I liked how their personal stories and their trauma informs the development of the film. I thought the really, really clever aspect of this was how once we get further into the Backrooms, how much it resembled our own nightmares, if you will, or the surrealism. When you talk about a dream and you think, oh, I was in my house, but it wasn't quite my house. There's something about that in the Backrooms that it caught really well. And I just thought that was such an unusual vibe. Do you think some horror fans might not appreciate the pacing in this, or what?
Yeah, I think it does kind of depend on what kind of horror fan you are. I mean, if you're into like huge bloodbaths and like all this like jump scares, all these like interesting killing methods, just constant deaths over and over again, this probably isn't going to be your kind of pacing, I'd say. I think for me, this was a really good pacing of a film. And I think it did have a good balance of the anxiety, jump scares, and the deaths in the film as well. I feel like I had a really good balance between those aspects.
I thought it was very well paced, and in the 3 sections, the way it was written, the way it was delivered. And what a talent, this guy who's brought his vision to bear. I'm genuinely impressed by this film.
Yeah. I watch a lot of horror, so I feel like usually I'm pretty desensitized to any kind of scare factors in horror films. I kind of learn the basic tropes and like what to expect and stuff. But with this film, I felt that fear. I felt that anxiety I hadn't felt in a while watching a film. And it was such an incredible experience. I felt so immersed in the Backrooms that like once I'd left the theater, it felt wrong, but kind of also relieving at the same time. It felt strange to like not be in this space that they were in. And again, I did feel that tension. I jumped at some points. My friend accidentally touched me in the theater and I jumped because I was just so immersed in the film. And I just thought it was so great. And I mean, even when I got home, I was just like looking around, like when I was in the dark, like a little fearful. And I haven't experienced that in such a long time. And that's why I think I love this movie so much.
Yeah, you're a big horror fan. I try to avoid horror films. This was interesting. Although I found it creepy and disturbing and anxiety inducing, I still wanted to see and go further because I think what drew me in was the element of mystery.
Yeah.
This will be different for everybody. If you like your horror films to be neatly wrapped up at the end, this ain't going to be the film for you. It is one of those films where you're just going to have to come away and think, what is this about, really?
Yeah.
It's still satisfying for me. I think we were given enough information about what's going on, and then we've just got to work it out for ourselves. Right. Are we ready to give this film a score?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Let's do it. Okay, everyone. These are our scores for the Backrooms. Here we go.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Wow.
I gave it higher than you. This is unusual. Yeah, I gave it a 9. I honestly, I have not seen anything like this before. And maybe it's because I don't see a lot of horror films. I don't know, but I really creeped me out. It was good. Good film. Okay, everyone. Thank you for joining us in our review. If you like what we do, please click here to subscribe. And we hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.